It's time for another Tackle HD Crappie Report. Today, professional angler Casey Scanlon has the latest from Lake of the Ozarks.
Hey everyone, Casey Scanlon here with the Lake of the Ozarks Crappie Fishing Report brought to you by Tackle HD. So the crappie fishing's really good here at the lake. Water temperature is anywhere from 38 degrees to about 45, maybe even 46 degrees. We've had some really warm weather the last week. Had a big cold front that knocked those temperatures back a little bit, but now we're starting to see some, consecutive days of warm weather, which is, keeping that water temperature pretty stable and has these crappie really biting. They're following these shad. They're moving every day, and the fish have been really easy to catch some days, and other days a little bit tougher. It seems like when we have some wind, they're easy to catch shallow on some of these open banks and out in open water. Fishing a jerkbait has been really productive for me. Went out today and caught a limit, probably about 30-40 minutes on the jerkbait today, and those fish were just roaming around in open water. I was utilizing the Tackle HD fiddlesticks. That's one of my favorite way to catch bigger crappie. Today they were running 10.5 to 11 inches, most of them, no real giants. But that color right there, the table rock shad, was producing pretty good. It was really windy, and those crappie were just kind of roaming. On the sunny days, they tuck up tighter to the brush piles and the docks. And on these windy days, they just kind of blow around with the shad and feed out in that open water. And the Garmin Live Scope is really a key to catching those fish in open water. I mean, they are, the school that I was catching today was way off the bank. They were out in front of a boat dock that's normally very productive for me, but the wind had them pushed away from that dock, and there was some big schools roaming around in open water. They were 4 or 5 foot underneath the surface, over 30 foot of water. So the water depth under my boat was about 30 feet, and these fish were just roaming high in the water column. And when I see those fish within 6 or 7 feet of the surface, I know I can catch them real easily on the jerkbait. You could also throw the new jig from Tackle HD in there. This is day in, day out what we throw for crappie. On these windy days or days when they're super active and willing to commit for the jerkbait, that's what I prefer to throw. But day in and day out, this is what we're throwing. I've got an 1/8 ounce head on here. So this week rather, past few days have been really calm up until today. And those fish were a little bit deeper, and I used the 1/8 ounce jig to get down there a little bit quicker to them when they're holding around deeper water. But day in and day out, the 1/16 ounce jig head size seems to be the most productive for me, especially around boat docks. So I'm also keying in on boat docks. A lot of these boat docks are kind of individualized, meaning that there's a little bit of space in between them and some of the other docks around where it's a big piece of cover that attracts those fish. I'm looking for a boat dock with a lot of shade. That could be in the back of a creek, secondary points, and on the main lake are the three places that I kind of look for them. So a lot of those secondary points in the creeks, look for a big dock around that secondary with a lot of shade, maybe a swim platform. Brush is also really good. And then I'll use my side scan or 2D, and I'll just kind of idle in front of these docks until I find one that has a big school under it. And when I stop to fish for those, if they're around the edges, and I see them on the live scope, I'll just, fish around the edge of the boat docks. But a lot of times, you got to fish in the open wells is really good. But a lot of times you got to shoot that crappie jig underneath the dock. And by shooting the jig, what I do is I take the rod, and I don't know if I can get that the rod tip in here, but basically I'll take the jig, put it in front of the reel, get it about 2 feet in front of the reel right here. So I'll position it about right here, open the bail, grab the line, and then I will point that jig where I want it. I'll aim the top of the rod, at one of the holes in the boat docks, around the swim platform. I'll take that jig all the way back, bend that rod back towards me, and then try to release the jig and the line in this other hand, at the same time. It takes a little bit of practice, but once you get the hang of it, it can become fairly easy, and it's a super productive way to catch these fish. They get way back underneath the boat docks in the shade where you need to put that jig, sometimes 20, 30, 40 feet back up underneath these docks. And, once I throw it up under there, I simply engage the reel and let that jig kind of swim back towards me. I'll let the jig pendulum towards me, and usually somewhere throughout that pendulum, one will bite it. But that's a really, really good way to catch them. So look for those boat docks that have some wind blowing on them. Look for isolated docks on the main lake, around secondary points, and use your electronics. No matter what brand you have, you can idle around, use your big motor to get around the shad, get around the bait, and when you're around a big school of crappie, they're going to show up on your 2D, on your side imaging. There's going to be fish everywhere on the screen. A lot of these fish are running from 4 foot on the surface all the way down to like 25 feet on the bottom. So big schools out there. Crappie fishing has been really, really good. We've been putting a lot of limits together. Hasn't been too difficult. Try that new crappie jig from Tackle HD. Just get a shad pattern. That has been the most productive for me. The jerk bait, play with the colors a little bit on the jerk bait. Some days they're kind of picky, but when they commit to the jerk bait, it's really fun. They get it almost every single cast. But that's the crappie fishing report for this week. Good luck out there. The bite has been on, so it's a good time to get out on the lake and fill your freezer up. Until next time, we'll see you.
Tackle HD Lure Kits, 100% made in Missouri. Available now at TackleHD.com.